had many questions about how I find the time to have started a business from a standing start back in November, going through a lockdown, and 8 months later, that business from a standing start has grown to over 1,500 properties in the UK, Spain, Dubai, Cyprus, and Italy as well. I run 4 websites, about 12 Facebook pages. I have over 25,000 connections on LinkedIn. I normally get between 50 to 100 messages a day on LinkedIn, and I do make an effort to reply to every single one of them. I do sometimes miss the odd one, and when I have a quiet patch and I scroll through, if there's any I miss, I normally respond to them afterwards. Part of it is down to being organised when I'm actually working, because I not only have my PC working and my phone to one side, I also have my tablet, which is basically connected to LinkedIn directly, and I have this on a separate keyboard. This is a Jellycomb Bluetooth keyboard. It's very, very clever. It has 2 Bluetooth channels, so I can actually switch. Channel 1 is connected to my tablet, channel 2 to my phone, so I can literally switch from one to the other, type on there, respond to my messages, so I keep that there all the time. That seems to make it a lot easier for me, but obviously each person has to work out a way that works for them. But I think that looking at your productivity and what you do when you're actually working is a very important factor. For me, one important factor, funnily enough, was typing, because for those of us who are sort of 50 plus, who learned to type as we went along in the early days, rather than actually learning to touch type properly. I'm sure many of you do, but many of us are little more than what's called hunt and peck, and we're looking for the keys and so on and so on. Now, yes, the average person, including myself, typing that way can get up to around 35 words per minute. That's the average speed. Most people type out between 35 to 40 words per minute. But statistically, the average person spends 3 hours a day in front of a computer, which I found quite shocking because I thought it was 14, or is that just me? But even at 3 hours per day, if we say that you are typing half of that time, if you can improve your typing speed from 40 to 60 words per minute, that will save you half an hour a day. That's 3.5 hours a week, 175 hours a year, and that's just going up to 60, which is not at all order. 80 is a little bit harder, but many people can achieve that. But 60 is not at all order. So myself, over the last 2-3 months, I've gone through the training course on typing.com, and although it is a little bit childish to begin with, it's actually a very good way to build up your muscle memory for all the keys, which I did. And then I moved on to a site called Keyber, which is a very, very good site for learning, because it has an algorithm that picks up your weakest letters. So as you go through all the letters, it then picks up which letters are your weakest letters, and it not only uses genuine English words, it generates words that are realistic, not words with like X, Y, Z next to each other, for example, but it always focuses on your weakest letter. And as your weakest letter improves then and catches up, then eventually there'll be a different weaker letter, and so on and so forth. And between that and another site called 10 Fast Fingers, I've taken my typing up to about 50 words per minute now, with a peak of about 58. I want to keep going. I want my average to never be below 60. That will make a big difference, but it has helped me a lot in the meantime. Although what it has done is it's made me very uncomfortable with this traditional keyboard, so I've now bought a different keyboard with chiclet style keys, and I'm just waiting for that to arrive, because ideally I wanted a keyboard that's very similar to my laptop keyboard, because changing from a ThinkPad to this feels like a typewriter compared to that, and it's throwing me off. So I think productivity is a big factor in being able to actually manage all of this. You need to actually time plan to suit yourself, and more importantly, you actually need to have a strategy, because a business without a strategy is like a ship without a rudder. It just won't go anywhere. My favourite example for this is the Rubik's Cube. I used to have one when I was, when I was a child, and recently I got one and I learned how to do it with a series of sequences. Now the Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion combinations. Basically, what that means is that if you try to randomly complete a Rubik's Cube, you would never ever do it. But if you have a strategy, a series of moves, then it all comes together. It is the same with business. When you start off, depending what you do, it is months and months of relentless effort. But if you are if you're working to a strategy, and by strategy I mean a considered strategy, something that you have researched and you are 100% confident that if you do this and this and this, add this to that, it equals success, then provided you maintain that momentum and that effort ongoing, it will happen. It is very difficult because, to begin with, you're working so hard for so little, and what you do bring in, more often than not, you will want to reinvest into the business, and there could be other people who are actually doing less than you and earning more. But you need to see the bigger picture, because once you actually get a business up and running, and especially if it's something that you love as I do, that business will reward you in the future. You will have built up something that is yours. Myself, I would rather polish shoes for £1 a go working for myself than to be at the mercy of an employer for a 6-figure salary. But that's my personal choice. What I've done has been very, very hard. It has been 24/7 for months and months and months, and it will continue to be so at least until next year. But I am confident that what I am doing will work. I am seeing the results in the way that our brand has grown, the properties that we have. So everything, all the foundations are in place now, and the rest will fall into place naturally. I'd like to make more videos about setting up a business, social media, all of the financial side, all of the legal side, the strategy, and in future videos I will cover everything in greater depth.